Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Western Herald Headlined. I am Jack Mennicke, the sports editor.
I am Libby Stefanich, the photo editor.
And I'm Joey Hartzell, the lead sports reporter.
So the first thing I think we want to discuss, Libby, this is your first time on the pod.
Yes,
Can you tell us a little bit about how you joined the Herald and how it's been so far?
Yeah, no, it's been lovely. It's been a great experience meeting everyone and working with everyone. I actually was exposed to the Herald by my film professor as she was giving me some work opportunities to expose myself to more photography. And I really appreciate that because I have learned a lot about photojournalism. Because that wasn't like my forte. I'm more like a creative, but I actually want to explore further into photojournalism after this job. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah. All right. Should we dive into some news?
Yeah.
Yes.
Starting with early voting. The 2024 presidential election is less than a week away, and early voting has started in Michigan. The Fetzer Center has opened for early voting on October 26th and will be open through November 3rd. From 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. for students to cast their ballots on campus. And then
just for reference, I think this is coming out the 5th, so this is all in past tense that we're talking about.
Oh,
But that's okay. But the Fetzer Center will be open on election day for voting. So that's in the future for this video. But yeah, and then continuing on, Michigan is one of 47 states that offer early voting. So obviously early voting is passed by the time this video comes out, but Michigan is one of those states that offers early voting and mail-in voting. And then, City of Kalamazoo Clerk's Office open on November 5th. So, yeah, there's a lot of options for voting on campus and off campus. And then that story, if you want to learn more about what we're talking about right now, that story is called Early Voting, Election Feelings and Politics on Campus, written by Grace Teachout, our news editor. Yeah, that's a good story. There's a lot of quotes in there.
It's a good way to judge kind of how people are feeling on campus. Obviously, we don't want to share too many quotes on here.
Right.
Yeah. So, but if you're interested,
dive into the story yourself.
If you guys are interested in reading some more about it and getting a good feel for how people are feeling on campus about the election, go check that out. It's a great article by Grace.
Yeah.
Lastly, in that you can go.
It also just highlights the importance of voting.
Yes, it does.
Because this is a huge election. And I definitely think, like you said, Joey, it like shows how people are feeling. And I think in one of the episodes we do kind of cover like mental health regarding the election. So I do think it is very important to, because it also highlights a couple organizations that are advocating to go vote. So yes, I do also recommend going and reading.
I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like this election in particular has been like just so like in our face. Obviously, like every election matters and every election counts, but I feel like this one in particular, like you were saying, the mental health thing, like it's kind of a lot.
It is a lot
at our age, especially because I know I'm 22. I've voted twice now, but we have a lot of new voters for us.
Yes.
Are you guys?
I'm a new, yes.
So I voted
First time
before in
voting.
local elections, but
this
is my first presidential election.
Yes.
So yeah, this is really impactful for our generation, I think, and to have this magnitude of election on most of our first ones, is pretty big weight on our shoulders. But I think it's good. Yeah, everyone should vote. Your vote matters, even if you think like, oh, my state's already kind of made up their mind about what it's going to be. You never know. Get out there and vote. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting on election day to see what happens.
Very, yes.
Moving on, let's jump into some Halloween candies.
Yeah.
Some lighthearted.
So a more lighthearted topic.
Yeah.
Halloween on Thursday, and the Western Herald ranked their top 10 candies. And I'm going to kick it to you first, Libby. Which one do you think was the most overrated and most underrated?
Most overrated. Okay, I don't like crunch.
Oh,
I am so sorry. I think 5 is a little too high for it. I am a big Twix person, so I can't even say that it was like underrated. But I'm glad that Sour Patch Watermelons was on there.
Twix was a very, very clear number one. There was not a whole lot of competition up there in the top spot. I believe Twix grabbed like 7 of 9 first place votes or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
God, you guys, man. Twix? I mean,
Was
It wasn't
Didn't get
wasn't my
place
first.
vote.
It was mine. It was mine.
Do you want to hear my
Go ahead,
underrated
Jack.
and overrated? Underrated, I think, has to be Reese's Peanut Butter Cups for me.
That's a good one.
I wrote about that. I had the little snippet for that one, and I just talked about how amazing it is,
Yeah.
or they are. And I think I honestly wouldn't be mad if they got the one spot, but obviously I didn't know that 7 people voted for Twix 1, so that wasn't going to happen. What did I say? Underrated, overrated? Well, I'm not going to say Twix, but even though I think Reese's should be number 1. Overrated, I don't really like Milky Way. The fact that it made
Really?
it on the list is kind of, I feel like there's other things that could have.
I'm a big Milky Way fan.
You are.
I'm a big Milky Way
So
fan.
you might be the reason it's on this list.
I think I am, actually. I think I'm the main reason. My overrated is Sour Patch Kids. I'm just...
Yeah? Okay.
I'm not a huge, like, sour and sweet. I like the chocolate more a little bit. And I think most underrated, just kind of in general, too, is the Three Musketeer bar. I believe I was the only person who even voted for that on the list.
Wow.
Three Musketeers.
Wow.
You know, I just don't think I eat enough of those to really have an opinion. I can't remember the last time I had one. What is it? Explain to me what this thing is.
It's just chocolate-covered nougat.
Okay.
I don't think you would like it if you don't like Milky Way, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Are they kind of similar?
They are a little bit. Milky Way just has, like, caramel in it.
Yeah. I feel like
yeah.
Three Musketeers are more like condensed. If
Okay.
that makes sense. I don't know how to explain it.
Sure.
Does
No,
that
it makes sense. That makes
You know
sense.
what? I'm gonna dive into this. Raisinets.
Oh.
I was the only one
No.
in the editorial board that had that, but if anyone out there likes Raisinets, please comment and reassure me that I'm not crazy, because
You're
they're just like
crazy.
satisfying. Like, it's a raisin covered in chocolate. Like, what's not to like? I don't know.
No, it's a good snack.
Yeah. So okay, here's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if like candy, like I don't know if I like.
I would consider.
I don't like to eat a lot of candy. I just think it makes my stomach hurt.
Okay.
So
yeah.
having the Raisinets, like Raisinets in the movie theater. Golden.
Okay, I can. Yeah.
So I'm snacking on the whole movie.
But that's
like
not
I don't
really
want to eat
Halloween
like
candy at that point. That's
yeah,
It's a
you're
movie
right.
candy.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah,
I'm
no.
straying off.
That's
the
just
point.
you trying to you're trying to stretch it a little bit
I
to
am
include your
stretching.
Raisinets.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's probably gonna do it for our candy
Yes.
aspect of this video.
Mhm.
I'm sure you guys love that a lot. But let's move on to some multimedia and photo stuff. Libby, you have some stuff to talk about?
Yes, it has been extremely busy over here for the multimedia editors, as we have been trying to curate a really strong checkout system for the camera equipment while also trying to maintain that organization, because we really want everyone to have equal opportunities to get the camera equipment and camera gear, because there are a lot of events happening. And I just want to thank Aidan, Ralko, and Jade Cizak for supporting me and helping me through this process. And we also want to move on to creating more like interpersonal reels or TikToks of the staff and editors, because that will kind of humanize us and bring attention to the multimedia team. For example, we want to do like a day in the life, or like come to this event with me. Because that's kind of fun. And it also just like will probably attract more people to the Herald, as again, it humanizes us. But yeah, it's been very busy.
You know what? To your point about the day in the life, this was last year, so you would have to scroll on our TikTok a while. But I did a day in the life, and it did pretty well on our TikTok. I think that those videos definitely humanized you or us, and and it was also fun to make. Like it's just people get to see exactly what's going on behind the scenes of what my job actually kind of looks like.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, it was fun. The whole video was on a basketball game, so I got to the arena, recorded some footage of the game, and then got to record my post-game interview with the coach.
Yeah.
And I think that I would like to think that it was a interesting video
for
some
sure.
folks to kind of see what's going on.
Yeah. I also, while I was watching the Western Herald YouTube, I saw that you went to like a haunted house tour.
Yeah,
and that was fun.
That was fun.
Yeah, I like.
That was like, it's just like we don't have to be like fully serious the entire time. Like it's good to add some color in there here and there. But yeah, that haunted house video was fun.
It was fun.
Aidan, we already mentioned him, but he was he set that up for us, and he was the one that was behind the camera for that. And then it was me and Zach Pantuso, our old photo editor.
Mm-hmm.
We had a fun time walking around that maze. I think it made for a pretty funny video.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, it's been busy because recently the focus has been on homecoming, Halloween, and like we just talked about, the election. So in the past couple of pitch meetings, I have been assigning multiple individuals to a variety of events. Previously, we just did the self-advocacy workshop and the anti-procrastination cafe and the shadow casting for the Rocky Horror Picture Show. So I do just want to shout out Katie Toro, Jade again, and Austin Vittor because they all did an amazing job being attentive this week with their assignments. I did have a bit of a busy week, so I didn't experience many environments like they did. But Jade and I recently just went to a dress rehearsal of The Haunting of Hill House, and it was lovely. And I think it's such a bragging moment for me because I love seeing the production value before anyone else can see it.
Yeah.
But I don't think I can ignore, or any of us can ignore, all the lovely sports photos we have been receiving from Nicholas Call, another amazing staff photographer who actually got the cover photo last paper, and that is impressive.
Yes.
So go Nick for that. So I'm going to let you guys go over sports.
Yeah,
it's a good little turning point for our sports
starting
talk.
off in the sports, we're going to start with a sport not in season. Western Michigan baseball head coach Billy Gernon signed a contract extension this week, keeping him in Kalamazoo and in the brown and gold until the 2027-28 baseball season. And Billy Gernon led the Broncos to one of their more successful seasons in recent memory last year, winning 32 games and winning the Mid-American Conference tournament before losing 2 games in the NCAA tournament. It was the most wins in a season since 1993 and one of the more impressive weekends at a MAC tournament ever by any team. Believe that Western outscored their opponents 27-3 in the 3 games they played. So pretty dominant performance there by Billy Gernon's Broncos, and they look to have another strong year this year.
It's good to have him back. He's been awesome for that program. I think just from talking to a few of the players, I think they all really appreciate him being their coach and really respect him and will really do a lot for him as far as competitive spirit goes and that kind of want to for your coach. But yeah, it's good. It was a good contract session for Dan Bartholomew. That was a good decision by him to keep him on board. Let's talk about a little bit about this past weekend. Well, 2 weekends ago for anyone watching this video. The Broncos had some success, to say the least. Let's start with football.
Big homecoming win over Kent State. Western Michigan looks dominant. The running game looks awesome right now. And Western Michigan sits at 4-0 in the MAC, the only unbeaten team left in a somewhat favorable schedule remaining for Western Michigan. They see the Northern Illinois Huskies on, I believe, Wednesday next week. And so I guess this week when the video comes out. And that'll be a tough matchup for Western, as NIU has shown they're capable of beating really good teams. They went into South Bend, Indiana earlier this year and beat Notre Dame. Yeah. So the Broncos have a test, but sitting at 4-0, they're among the best in the MAC, and so it's really what you want out of that football team.
And I was at that game, the homecoming game, and the Broncos obviously their opponent Akron wasn't, Kent State wasn't top of the notch per se, but they just it's when your team can do that to the bad teams. That's what you look for. You don't want any lackluster performances against those lower class teams. And I think the Broncos did a good job of taking care of business, 52-21 win. Everyone looked pretty dominant in that game. I don't think there was any low points for the Broncos. And after the game, obviously I was talking to Coach, and he kept mentioning, and all the players. There was I got to talk to Hayden Wolf, Tate Halleck, who had 2 interceptions and a forced fumble in that game and led the team in tackles. So he had a day.
Highest graded highest graded defensive player in the entire country according to PFF.
There we
last
go.
Week.
Tate,
Shout out Tate Halleck. That was an incredible game out of him. Yeah. And I think that 52-21 score honestly isn't even
right. No,
you're right.
That
game really wasn't even as close as that. It was 38-0 at halftime, or almost going into
38.
halftime.
Yeah, right.
38-7 going into halftime after a late half touchdown by Kent State.
Right, and that came from. I talked to speaking of talking to Coach, I talked to him after the game, and he said there was under 2 minutes to go. The Broncos had the ball, and they were at like the 10-yard line, and Coach said, and they were up 38-0 at this point. So obviously, it'd be pretty easy for Coach to just say, "All right, we're up 38-0. Let's just sit back, take a knee on this one, and bring it to the half." But he made a point that we're not gonna take our feet off the gas. We're gonna keep going. And so he wanted to score on that drive, and it ended up being a pick. Hayden Wolf threw a pick, so not what Coach wanted, but what he was going for was pure foot on the gas. Let's not give up.
Yeah,
and then they got touching off that. So that's one of the scores was kind of.
That's how this team
inverted,
plays, though. That's how Lance Taylor's teams always play. They play hard. They play fast. They're aggressive.
Yeah.
And Lance Taylor, that's been. Dan Bartholomew knocked it out of the park with that hire. Lance Taylor's been great so far here in Kalamazoo. I mean, 4-0 in conference in his second year.
Yeah.
He really
not much more you can ask.
Yeah,
for,
he's keeping guys in the transfer portal, which in this day and age with a good mid-major school, that's hard to do. And he's bringing in guys. He brought in Jaden Nixon, who's the team's leading rusher this year, through the transfer portal. And so being able to bring in playmakers like that through the transfer portal is big for a school like Western Michigan.
Yeah, and then one last thing. I was going to say, Coach and everyone that I talked to kept talking about they have a 1-0 mindset going into every game. They're focusing on the game itself and nothing else. They just want to win that game and then move on to next week and then have the same mindset in the next week. So there was other reporters in there. They were asking questions. One of them asked, Coach, you're 4-0. Obviously, we know that you have this mindset of just taking it one game at a time, but what does this mean for you guys as a program? And he hammered home the 1-0 thing. Like, he wasn't going past that at all. Obviously, they're 4-0. He's happy about that. But he's taking it one game at a time, and it looks special, to be honest.
Yeah, this team has a chance to win the MAC. And like more than a chance. This team is at this point probably the MAC favorite. And and games like this just solidify that.
Mm-hmm.
The offensive line looks awesome, led by Addison West and Jacob Gideon up front. And that's one of the best offensive lines in the country, which is where it all starts for Western.
Mm-hmm. I think we could talk about football for like 20 more minutes, but let's move on for time's sake. Men's soccer, they drew, so they're still undefeated on the season. I think they're the last remaining undefeated team in the NCAA. So, congrats to them. I think that's like 38 games without a loss, stretching back to last season. So yeah, I mean they've looked pretty special. A lot of them have been draws, but they're doing their job. Like so many shutouts. And then obviously they're getting enough wins to put themselves
getting
on top.
Getting a little bit of national love too. Broncos are ranked 9th in the country right now.
9th in the country, yep.
And by the soccer polls. So that Western Michigan team looks like they could make some real noise again in the tournament. Just as they have the last couple of years, making it to the Sweet 16 both years, and before they fell to I believe Louisville. I believe the first year, and then falling to Notre Dame last year in penalty kicks.
But yeah, let's move on for time's sake. Women's soccer, they also won. They're undefeated in their conference in the MAC, so that's big for them.
Mm-hmm.
Volleyball, 2 wins over Akron on the weekend. They now have a 4-game win streak. If you haven't watched our 4-Course Sports, I'll shout out that. If you haven't watched that, we did a volleyball episode. That was 3 weeks ago, I think.
I believe so.
I think they were 5-11 at that point, and now
they've really turned it around.
They've turned it around. They're on a 4-game win streak. Like I said, they're making some noise, and I think that things are starting to click for the Broncos as far as volleyball goes. But yeah, that's been exciting to watch. We got stories up on those games. It was in the print, that series was. So go grab a print if you haven't yet. But yeah, I think lastly, let's just talk about hockey. That was kind of the only there's one more thing I wanted to mention. Men's tennis. So there was this MAC qualifying event which would send them to the ITA Conference Masters Championship. So that's a pretty big event in this country. And there was going to be 3 representatives for the MAC. It would be the 2 doubles winners and then the singles winner, and the Broncos won both. So they're sending Anton it's hard to say his name, Arkanson, and then Brogan, Pierce, and Jack Davison to that tournament as the only representatives for the MAC. So the Broncos will represent the MAC in whole for that tournament, which is really impressive. And yeah, it's just good to see. And then, like I said, lastly, let's talk about some hockey. Only really downfall for the weekend, but what you can't really call it a downfall. They were playing number 2 Boston College.
Yeah, the Broncos go on the road to Boston College. Took a quick 2-0 lead in the first period. Couple of turnovers forced by good Bronco forecheck. That really was good the entire game. Put Western in front, but it's just so hard to beat a team that has pros on every line all over the ice. I mean, Boston College, we're talking about a team that probably has 4 or 5 first-round draft picks on their first line, and you're bringing guys in that are second, third, fourth-round draft picks in the second or third line, and that's a lot to ask, especially for a team like Western who has so many freshmen. I believe there's 6 freshman skaters, and then started Hampton Slakinski, the star freshman in goal, and he was incredible. I think I think seeing a 4-2 score, he doesn't get enough credit. He made 29 of 32 saves. Boston College had the empty netter at the end there, and really he was a big reason why Western was able to stay in this game for so long. There were a couple of just incredible saves that he made that, quite frankly, I have no idea how he got the puck. But it's always good to see a freshman playing like that, and Western now has the best goalie tandem in the country. There's a lot of teams like Boston College, like Michigan State, who have these incredible goaltenders, but to have 2 the way Western does in Hampton Slakinski and then 5th-year senior Cam Rowe is just, that's a luxury most schools don't have.
I think Pat Frischweiler is very high on Hampton. I mean, it just shows that he put him in against number 2 Boston College, so there has to be some reasoning behind that. And yeah, I mean, we're lucky to have 2 guys like that in our net. But yeah, it's been a good season for the Broncos. Obviously, losing this game isn't ideal. They had a chance to win, but it's number 2 Boston College, so there's not really much we can say negatively about that game.
Yeah, and I mean, a close win to Boston College on the road honestly helps your pairwise, which for those of you who are watching and don't know what that is, that's the computer system that kind of rates teams and helps you determines who gets in the NCAA tournament. But a road loss to Boston College close will honestly help you more in that than a home win against Ferris State, just because of the level of competition. And it was a great measuring stick for Western Michigan because, in my opinion, I think Boston College is the best team in the country. I think they're better than Denver, but they're up there. They're among the top teams, and I think it's a great measuring stick. And the Broncos are right there. Yeah.
All right, I think that should probably do it for us. Thank you guys for watching. Please enjoy your day.